Well, good evening, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. So today is the winter solstice. It is the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. And that happened at about 11:28 a.m. today. So it's the shortest day of the year in terms of daylight. So that means starting tomorrow, we're going to see the daytime getting a little bit longer, so a little bit earlier, maybe minute by minute here and there in the morning, and the sun will be setting minute by minute later in the evening. Also, winter solstice officially means the first day of winter. So instead of this snowy, cold scene behind me, preferably I would like that. Nice winter season, so we are going to be seeing, maybe in the southern hemisphere if you do happen to go there, even though it's winter season here, it's summer there. So the Earth orbits, not really in a circle, more like an oval. So right now in our winter, in December, this is when the Earth is closest to the sun. So the heat in the southern hemisphere during their summer tends to be hotter, which is kind of what we've seen throughout all of the years. So that was just my little thing on the winter solstice. Now let's head over to my computer and we'll have a little forecast discussion with a couple things coming up for Christmas weekend. All right, now we're at the computer, so let's take a look at some of these forecast models. So let's switch on over to the computer screen. And here, let's at least start by taking a look at the current radar. So this is the national radar. There's this pretty long, thin, spread out area of precipitation. This is not all that's coming in. This stuff is really going to be moving over top, but then the backside, this is what looks like it's going to be coming in a little bit more into our area. So the National Weather Service has now issued some winter weather advisories. These are for northern counties. So northern Fairfield in Connecticut, Orange and Westchester, and north of that, Rockland and southern Westchester. Not really anything, but I should say Ulster County. So Orange and Ulster in north. So this is where we could see a little bit of mixing going on. So some of these forecast models move what's called the 540 thickness line, which is kind of like a temperature line, a little bit more north. So that's what's causing this little bit of mixing. And when we click on the winter weather advisory, so this is what it's primarily for. Freezing rain likely. Ice will result in difficult travel conditions, including Friday evening commute. Total ice accumulations of a few hundredths up to a tenth of an inch of ice. So this is something we have to take a look at, because if it is a tenth of an inch of ice, that's quite a bit of ice to worry about there, especially on the exposed tree limbs. 1 p.m. Friday till 10 a.m. Saturday. So now let's take a look at some of these forecast models. So let's start with the GFS. The GFS is showing here. So this is this is 1 p.m. on Friday. This right here, that blue line, the 540 thickness line, it's a little bit more north on these forecast model runs today. So this is what is causing this icing versus snow. So in the higher elevation areas, in, say, Orange, Ulster, Sullivan, any of those, and then once you get a little bit more north, that's where you can see some icing. So you have to keep that in mind, especially for the Friday evening commute. Going more north into central New York State, north of this 540 thickness line, with that pretty moderate precipitation, that looks like it could be snow. And some areas, say around Albany, we're saying between maybe 2 and 4 inches of snow with a little bit of ice mixing in. So that could be a very dangerous situation. So this is what the GFS is showing. So now I want to show you the Euro. So now let's fast forward to about 1 p.m. So the precipitation's a little bit further back, but the 540 thickness line is showing the same trend, where it's a little bit more north than yesterday's model runs in the kind of weather podcast that I showed you guys. So that's kind of what's triggering the National Weather Service to issue this winter weather advisory specifically about the icing in our area. And the last one here, the NAM. Come on, there we go. So let's see. Let me back up here. So this is 1 p.m. on Friday with the NAM. And it's also showing same kind of trend with this 540 thickness line. It is more north than yesterday's run, and there's still precipitation here. So that's where those higher elevation areas can see a little bit of mixing and icing. So you have to keep that in mind when you're traveling, or if you're starting to do your Christmas traveling Friday, then you have to keep that in mind because we could be seeing some slick roadways, especially late Friday. But then when we go overnight Friday into Saturday, that's really starting to warm up a little bit more. So let's start now in the reverse order. So with the NAM going into Friday, this is set about 7 p.m. on Friday, going overnight. Now this is just rain. This is way too warm. The 540 line is much more north. So this is pretty much just going to be rain. And according to some of the text output with the temperatures, it looks like we could be in the upper 50s to near 60 degrees on Saturday, which shouldn't be for wintertime temperatures. So that is on the NAM. Let's take a look at the Euro. And showing the same thing, quite a bit of rain making its way through. So it looks like a very wet day on Saturday, but it's a little bit more mild. And with the GFS here, there we go, caught up. So this is also about 1 p.m. on Saturday. And some of this looks like some pretty intense rain by the time we get to Saturday afternoon. But again, right here, that's the 540 thickness line. So the temperatures are going to start to drop overnight. So there may be a little bit of freezing with any of this rain. And then going into Sunday, it looks to be pretty dry, but the 540 thickness line starts to drop south. And on the Euro, let's see, about the same thing. It starts dropping south. Isobars really aren't too close, so it's not really going to be that breezy. And with the NAM, let's see, going overnight, there's still rain, and that 540 thickness line starts to drop south. And then by the time we get to Sunday afternoon, it looks to be like there's a lot of cold air coming in. Now, if you look really close here, so the black line, this is the isobar. These blue lines and these red lines are called isotherms. The angle I can't really zoom in anymore there, but the angle that is between the isotherm and the isobar determines the amount of advection, it's called, or cold or warm air coming into the area. So when they're nearly perpendicular like this, like that's nearly 90-degree angle, a right angle between the isotherm and the isobar, that means there's a lot of cold air starting to come in. If it was the other way, if we go a little bit more south here, so right here, it's not a lot because they're almost parallel there, but that means there's a little bit of warm air coming into this area out in the ocean, just for an example there. But when we look back in our area, these nearly 90-degree angles between the isobar and the isotherm means there's going to be some cold air coming in through Sunday, and then by the time we get to Monday, it's going to be pretty cold. And then now, let's see how far this goes out, going into Christmas Day. So Christmas Day, that's as far as that went out. More moisture. The cold air is in place there, so it looks like it's going to be a little bit of snow, which is different because it started out wet on the last forecast model. So on the Euro, let's take a look here. This is Christmas Eve overnight, and the cold air is in place going into Christmas Day. So it looks like we may see some snow out of this. Not according to this run of the forecast model, which is interesting because they've been changing quite a bit. And then with the GFS, let's see, overnight, go back to Christmas Eve. So Santa may see a little bit of snowflakes coming through Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day. And then here, this is about 7 a.m. on Christmas Day, Monday. There's still moisture right around there, and especially once you get up into Massachusetts and Rhode Island there, that's quite a bit. Could be some very moderate snow there, but for our area in the tri-state, looks like some fairly moderate snow showers. Not really enough to give any kind of significant accumulation, but maybe a little bit of accumulation. We did have an Alberta Clipper system not too long ago, and this is pretty much the same thing, or very similar in the setup at least. So this could turn out to be maybe a couple inches, 1 or 2 inches of snow in the long run, because these forecast models have been flipping back and forth. So that's pretty much that. Let me switch back to the main camera. So As I was mentioning, these forecast models, they're kind of flip-flopping back and forth every day. Over the weekend, it'll be a little bit more certain, so I'll definitely give you an update on Saturday. However, it does look like we may be seeing maybe a little bit of a white Christmas, not really a complete snow blanket, but we may see some snow showers throughout the day, which will make it look very nice for Christmas Day. So that pretty much wraps this up. I hope you guys enjoyed all the drone footage as well for the Winter Solstice Day and the shopping. I was shocked so early in the morning when I was there at about, what was that, 11 a.m., those cars? Quite a bit of people out there doing their last minute Christmas shopping, so keep that in mind as well as they're heading into the weekend. If you're still doing any kind of Christmas shopping, you may have to deal with a lot of rain coming through Saturday, maybe a little bit of icing going late Friday, and then for Christmas Day, if you're traveling back home late in the day, you may be dealing with a little bit of snow. So keep that in mind, keep an eye to the weather, and I'll keep you guys updated. Hit that little subscribe button below, and I'll try and keep these weather updates videos coming again. Have a great day, everybody, and if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you over the weekend, and have a great evening.